Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and patch 10.2 is set to drop over to the live realms in the early November, which is in less than 3 weeks away. With all of the new class revamps on the horizon, now's a pretty good time to level a few new alts, especially since leveling is ridiculously fast thanks to a few overlapping holidays and in-game events. As someone who's already amassed an army of alts, one of each playable class, I'm basically set for the patch 10.2. But the recent EXP buffs got me leveling a couple of characters to catch up on some of my missing heritage armor sets. To make leveling new characters fast and efficient, I've been doing a bit of research and tried some of the most common leveling suggestions and found a leveling route that seems insanely quick with all the active EXP bonuses. So in today's video, I want to share with you guys the leveling route that I found to be the fastest, including all the prep work, which zones I choose to quest in for fast leveling, and how to take advantage of the time-walking leveling bonuses, as well as other EXP buffs for the last minute leveling sprint before 10.2 is officially upon us. And you might want to start leveling right now because some of these benefits are going to be gone by the end of not this reset, but the next reset. So you might have like 10 days to take advantage of all of these leveling bonuses. But right before we get into this little leveling guide before the patch 10.2, most of you guys watching these guide videos are still not subscribed. However, the more of you remind, the more of you do, so let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell if you're watching these videos anyway. Especially if you want to get more regular content regarding Dragonflight 10.2 or any of the future updates going forward. I first want to go over all of the various bonuses that we'll be utilizing to make our leveling experience as quick and efficient as possible. Starting with the current holiday that's active, the Hollow's End, where interacting with the Wicker Man on the Alliance or the Horde side provides you with a 10% XP and a reputation bonus that lasts for a total of 2 hours. Then we have the Draught of the Ten Lands Experience Potion, which you can obtain from one of the Warfront Quartermasters for the Horde or the Alliance on a character that's finished the intro to Battle for Azeroth. The potion is being sold for commendations, a currency which can be earned from the Warfront World Quest or by participating in any of the faction invasions in any of the Battle for Azeroth zones. Next we have Warmode, which will be helpful for us early on, but we'll likely be disabling this as we get closer to max level. Warmode provides you between 10 to 15% bonus experience depending on your faction, and also grants you access to PvP talents, which at times can speed up your leveling journey. During War Mode, we are vulnerable to combat with other enemy players on the opposite faction. However, the routing in this video will avoid all combat so we get the most amount of benefits of War Mode without any of the negatives. Next, we have the current Time Walking event. The turbulent timelines are still in full effect for the next few weeks. Finishing Time Walking dungeons allows you to gain a stacking Time Walking buff, and at 4 stacks the buff transforms into 30% additional experience, a buff that can be easily refreshed by jumping into a Time Walking dungeon. But also, outside of the Time Walking buff, the Time Walking dungeons themselves are ridiculously efficient when it comes to leveling, and we'll be utilizing these dungeons from level 30 or 35 throughout this leveling journey. When it comes to level 60 to 70, we could also utilize the Dream Surge buff of 25% additional experience, as long as we complete any quests or objectives within a specific Dream Surge zone. Also, Dream Surges have buffs that rotate every 30 minutes, with players choosing which buff they want to activate. And once in a blue moon, you may run into a 50% experience buff, which drastically improves the last 10 levels on your way to level 70. Also, let's mention heirloom gear. Technically, heirlooms aren't necessary for leveling. They do allow you for better efficiency and management of your rested experience to gain more value from it, and they do scale with your level, which is convenient, but technically they're not necessary. This one will entirely depend on to you whether you want to spend the gold on heirloom gear or not. I myself like the convenience of not having to replace all of my items, but you will still have to manage certain slots like belt, gloves, and boots. And all in all, it feels more like an optional bonus if anything. Now let's cover the route that I've been using for all of my characters. Starting with levels 1 through 10, the easiest and the fastest way to level during this time period is through the Exile's Reach. This one is often recommended as the fastest leveling experience from 1 to 10 compared to the original race-specific starting zones. However, you could skip Exile's Reach entirely if you're starting off with an allied race which begins their leveling experience at level 10. So once you're done leveling through Exile's Reach or start up your allied race character, the first thing you should do is talk to Chromie to set your timeline to Legion. And then you should do the Legion skip or the scenario if you've never done it before, so you can unlock the Legion Hearthstone. Even if you have the Legion Hearthstone on your account, a new character cannot actually use the Hearthstone until they've visited the Dalaran in Broken Shore at least once. And the Hearthstone ends up being incredibly useful whenever we need to journey back to Orgrimmar or Stormwind. Now the routing is going to split a little, with Horde and Alliance getting a completely different experience. I first want to cover the Horde side from level 10 to 25. For Horde players, it is often recommended to start out in the Silver Pine Forest, and after trying out the zone myself, it is incredibly efficient when it comes to experience gains. However, once you get further along into the story chapters until you have 3 undead companions following you around for the next few quests, that's when some of these quest lines become much slower and less worthwhile to do. So once you get to that point, this is where you abandon everything that has to do with Silverpine and then move on into the Hillsbrad foothills, and you begin doing all of the quests until roughly about level 25. For Alliance players, your level 10 to 25 journey is going to start in Red Ridge Mountains, but similar to Horde, you're going to do every single quest until you get to the part where the leveling chapters take you to the Camp Everstill. This is where you want to abandon Red Ridge entirely, and just like Horde, you'll be moving on into a different zone. Instead, you'll be questing in Duskwood, where you want to start with all the quests within Darkshire and do as much of the zone as you can until you get to level 25. And once you get level 20 on that character, you should then use your Dalaran Hearthstone and then head back to Stormwind or Orgrimmar so you can turn on Warmode. From that point on, you'll be able to gain the 10 to 15% additional extra experience while staying in your faction-specific zone, which gives you a 99% chance that you will never see a member of the opposite faction, so you can quest without any worries. Once you reach level 25, this is where you want to use the Dalaran Hearthstone again to head back to your capital city, and then talk to Chromie to enable the Warlords of Draenor timeline. Then you want to do the Warlords of Draenor intro experience. And just like Exile's Reach, the WoD intro is incredibly efficient. It is a very linear questing experience that doesn't take a long time to finish. Combined with the leveling buffs such as Drought of Town Lands for 10% XP, the Hallow's End for additional 10%, and Warmode for 10 to 15 depending on your faction, you're looking at roughly 30% additional experience while going through the entire intro, which is going to quickly help you ramp up through your leveling journey. And once you're out of the WoD intro, you will want to do the quest lines near your garrison, whether it is the quest to establish the garrison or some of the quests that follow after, and then continue to do the quests within the local zone, either the Shadowmoon Valley for the Alliance or the Frostfire Ridge for the Horde. You will do this until you hit the appropriate enough level to queue into Timewalking dungeons, and depending on which Timewalking week it is, it's either going to be level 30 or 35. And once you reach the minimum level for Timewalking dungeons, take the Dalaran Hearthstone and head back to Stormwind or Orgrimmar. Talk to Chromie, and then have her bring you back to your current timeline. Once you do that, you can start queuing for Timewalking dungeons. Timewalking is fantastic for multiple reasons. One, the pool of players that you get in Timewalkings is massive. You got a lot of max level players trying to get a bit of gear from the weekly Timewalking event, but also lower level players trying to level through the experience fast. So whether you queue as a healer, tank, or even DPS, the queue time isn't that long. Just be aware that healers and tanks will have practically no wait time, while DPS maybe will have anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes worth of wait, but in my time leveling alts, I haven't really had to wait for too long in order to get a dungeon going. And as you complete more dungeons, you will be able to stack the Timewalking buff, which awards you with 30% additional experience. Timewalking dungeons are so efficient that I found myself grinding through them up until level 60, and once you reach the 60 to 70 ballpark, this is where you have a couple of choices of how you choose to get through the last 10 levels. First method is to keep spamming Timewalking dungeons. With a Timewalking XP buff of 30%, together with the holiday buff of 10 additional percent, you're looking at 40% more experience as you go from instance to instance. Another option is to go questing within the Dream Surge zones. Every week, one of the 4 original Dragon Isle zones will be invaded with a Dream Surge. During a Dream Surge, you have a 25% experience buff while you do any of the activities within the zone. This means bonus objectives, main story quest lines, as well as side quests all award quite a bit of additional extra XP. And the storylines for any of these zones are incredibly efficient. Similar to the introduction to WoD or the Exile's Reach, all of the zones and the questing of Dragon Isles is compact as well as linear. and depending on your leveling speed, these actually can be much more efficient than time-walking dungeons. Besides this, Dream Surges also have rotating buffs that adjust every 30 minutes. One of these buffs increases all player experience gains for 30 minutes by 50% while within the Dream Surge zone, which can drastically increase how many levels you are gaining, sometimes even gaining an entire level just for doing a cluster of tightly packed side quests. Personally, I found doing dungeons is more efficient if I want to play tank or a healer. Specifically as a tank, I can decide just how fast the group is pulling all the mobs, and you can generally get through instances quicker if you have any tanking experience. But if you play as a DPS class, I found that questing out in the open world is actually a little bit faster for me. And the only reason it may slow down is on higher levels if you have a hard time replacing all of your lower item level gear. This is where I'd visit the capital city of Thaldraszus to see if I can find suitable replacements on the auction house for cheap. Or you can always start queuing for time walking dungeons where the time walking scaling helps normalize the experience. As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single video and live stream, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video or hang out with the rest of the community to discuss some of the upcoming changes. Join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.